It seems that this is a bit of a growing conversation, some growing momentum. We've seen the New South Wales Treasurer, Dominic Perrottet, talk about this, the BCA, and now leading businesses and business leaders like yourself. What do you need?
Oh, thanks, Laura. What do we need? Well, it's been an interesting process over the last 6 months thinking about these issues. It's felt like we're chasing a moving car. And all of a sudden, it looks like there's a whole lot of people chasing the same car. What do we need? Well, we say there's a couple of things. We need, obviously, a fantastic vaccination program that goes quickly and with some consistent messaging around it. We need a more nuanced approach to quarantine and scaled approach. Some sort of certification process around vaccinated or COVID immune people so they can come and go from the country. And then, frankly, a series of very carefully controlled pilots around relevant sectors and industries to see what works and to learn from it.
Indeed. Well, let's start with the vaccination program. The government has vaccinated. We've seen 2.6 million shots. Let's call it 2.7 just to be on the safe side there. They're still saying that we'll be fully vaccinated by the end of the year. Is business believing that timeline?
Yeah, I should say too that the taskforce is business, but as well as civil leaders across different parts of society. We really tried to make it quite diverse. One thing we've all learned the last year is you can't guarantee the future, but it does feel there is momentum moving. It does feel that different states are stepping up the ways they approach it. There is clearly a heavy focus on it. A lot of the bureaucracy is trying to improve things. I think maybe the two things that we could do better is one is make it easy for people to get the vaccines, easier to get the vaccines. I talked to colleagues in the States and industry has helped government there with the rollout and that's gone well. And the second thing is with vaccine hesitancy, get the information out so people can make proper informed choices. And that means different languages, different channels. So it seems to me it is a moving car. It might be picking up speed, but it probably needs to go faster than it currently is.
Indeed. So what benchmarks? I mean, 2.7 million Australian, or jabs, I should say, administered. A fraction of that have 2 jabs. So that's a very small fraction, less than 10% that are fully inoculated. Do you need to know, how many people need to be fully inoculated before X, Y, and Z can happen? Would that help?
Look, I think it would, and that probably needs a deeper examination from public health experts. I think what we in the task force say is we have to help people shift their mindset from staying closed to stay safe to planning to reopen and taking sensible steps informed by public health experts. And I was listening to Kerry Chant yesterday, and she made some very good points around, vaccinating the right people. So not just people in aged care, but the people who come to visit them, their extended families, and so forth. Seems to me the total number is important, but the order is also important. So I don't have a clear answer for you, but I'm sure with enough brain power applied to it, you could get that number.
I reckon we've got enough brain power in this country to figure that out.
I think so. Particularly when we come together like we have in the last 12, 14 months.
Yeah, but the way I see it as well, Mark, is are we in many ways a victim of our own success? We've been so good at almost eliminating the virus. Political leaders haven't actually had that confronting conversation with people, is that you won't be able to do this forever with borders open.
Yep. You're spot on. It feels like we've won the war and we're in danger of losing the peace. We say we stay sealed off hermetically from the rest of the world, relatively COVID-free, but missing out on all the things that re-engagement with the world brings. A diverse society, a better economy, immigration, all of ability to reconnect with family and friends in different places. So I would agree with you. I think now is the time to think about how we win the peace and not just be comfortable and smug that we've done well so far.
How do you think the rest of the world is seeing us, Mark? Are we looking too protectionist? Is it maybe hurting business, investment, or Australians just really aren't aware how much the rest of the world is starting to open up?
Yeah, I think all of that. We're all informed by our own experiences. Certainly, some of the overseas conversations I have, people are saying, "You've done so well. What did you do? How can we learn?" So there's a thirst for knowledge sharing, but there's also a part that says, "What's the end game? What's the plan?" You only remember who wins the race at the end, not who led at the start. What are you going to do next? maybe you're being a little bit rigid around what's worked for you so far and not actually being agile enough about what you need for the future.
Mark, and Australian people have been so compliant over 12 months. You know, governments have trusted Australian people to do the right thing, and overwhelmingly they have. So it needs to be a shift now. Trust people to home quarantine. Trust people to do the right thing, but open the borders.
Yeah, look, I agree. It's been amazing, really, and the whole of the country should take a bit of a bow. And our political leaders, you know, there's been some squabbling at the edges, but overall, it's been a pretty good performance, as our Prime Minister says, Team Australia. But it is right; it does feel like we're in suspended animation. It's the same thing that happens. We find 1 or 2 cases here, the same playbook comes out, and we go back around that loop. It is time to sort of what we call build a psychological runway to reopening, which requires information, requires trust in our public figures, some regular, transparent communications. Particularly, the communicator who's very good on this is the New South Wales Premier, I think. Treat us like adults, and we're more likely to follow you. Would be my sort of kind of nudge to government on this.
This is a pretty heavy-hitting task force. You're on it. We see the boss of PwC, Mike Baird. Who else is on it?
Well, look, we've got a really interesting bunch of people. So we have the CEO from the Sydney Symphony Orchestra, and she brings a really interesting perspective around the creative arts. And they have actually managed, working with governments, to bring in some talent so that we can enjoy those things. We've got the head of Settlement Services Australia, who looks after refugees and a whole range of different immigrants. And it's more of a political topic, but really an important one, because it goes to what kind of Australia do we want to be? Do we want to be this selfish, closed-off nation, or do we want to be a generous, open nation? And so she brings that perspective in. We've also got some academics, the head of the School of Architecture and head of the Sydney Policy Lab, and a few others helping us in the background. So we've deliberately tried to be structurally diverse to get a range of different views into the room and to expand the debate.
Well, Mark Rigotti, we hope you get some progress with this report. Keep us posted. Let us know.
Thanks very much. Okay, have a good day.